Hello, and welcome to Inspirations by Dr. Gail. Today my topic is my nose too big? My butt too big? And other foolishness? This is part 4 of the series, You Are All That and More. I'm Dr. Gail L. Thompson, the founder and CEO of Inspirations by Gail, LLC. As the author of numerous books, nationally known motivational speaker, and former endowed professor of education, my goal is to share stories, life lessons, and strategies to help you live your best life. To subscribe to this podcast, please visit my website, www.drgailthompson.com. That's www.drgailthompson, P as in Paul, SON.com, or you can visit my YouTube channel, Inspirations by Gail. Now I'll begin today's episode, Is My Nose Too Big? My Butt Too Big? And Other Foolishness, with a true story that I included in Dear Beautiful, a self-empowerment book for Black women. Here's the story. One evening, as I was strolling along the pier at my favorite beach, I noticed a couple standing nearby. Right before I passed them, I heard the man tell the woman this, "I'm good looking." As I continued to stroll, I kept thinking about his bold comment. I knew that I had heard him correctly, but wanted to make sure that I had seen him correctly. So even though it was almost nighttime, I put on my sunglasses, turned around, and headed back to where the couple stood. When I approached them, the sunglasses allowed me to get a good look at the man without appearing to be staring. Sure enough, I had seen him correctly. He was about my height, 5 feet 4 inches tall. He had a receding hairline and tanned skin. He also appeared to be in the 65 to 70-year-old age range, and he was wearing knee-length shorts. In spite of this, the man not only believed that he was attractive, but he was audacious enough to say it so loudly that even I could hear him. I shared this story with you because it relates to body image. Unlike the man who proclaimed that he was good-looking, many individuals struggle with issues related to their body size and shape and their facial features. This is especially true of girls and women. Therefore, I can realistically assume that most women and girls aren't as confident about their outer appearance as the man in the previous story. One of the main reasons is that throughout the world, many females are pressured to adopt a biased and unrealistic standard of beauty. In the U.S., the standard of beauty has historically been based on having European-like features and a slim body. This standard has been troubling for many women of color, especially for Black women. From childhood onward, Black women are not only bombarded with negative messages about our value, personalities, skin tones, and hair textures, but also about our body shapes and sizes. We also get a double whammy, body shaming from Black folks as well as from non-Blacks. A common type of Black-on-Black body shaming occurs when Black females who have small rear ends are teased by other Blacks. On the other hand, Black girls who have curvaceous bodies may be shamed by non-Blacks. For instance, Black girls who attend predominantly white schools may be ridiculed by non-black peers who accuse them of having big butts. Educators can also be guilty of body shaming black girls. For example, many years ago, after I conducted a professional development workshop at a performing arts school, a black teacher told me two stories that really upset me. The first story pertained to a black sixth grader at the school. This boy was arrested for leaving the cafeteria without permission in order to use the restroom. The second story that she told me involved body shaming. According to the teacher, black girls at the school were receiving low grades in their dance classes. Their white female teachers were telling them that because of their body shapes, the girls couldn't get into the correct ballet poses. In other words, these middle school girls were being penalized for something that they couldn't control, the natural shapes of their bodies. What happened to those students is a recent example, but the shaming of black female bodies has a long history. A very famous example of this historical shaming is the story of Sara Baartman. Sara Baartman was the name that was given to her by her Dutch owner. I'm using this name instead of her original African name because I don't want to mispronounce it. Now back to the story. Sara was born in South Africa in 1789 and became an orphan at an early age. At some point, she allegedly developed a medical condition that made her life even worse. According to BBC Magazine, Sara's condition was called stereotypes. However, although the internet contains a lot of information about it and its racist origins, credible online medical sources such as WebMD.com and MayoClinic.org contain no references to it. According to the BBC Magazine article, Sara's so-called medical condition caused her to have, and I quote, extremely protuberant buttocks due to a buildup of fat, unquote. Numerous reports indicate that because of the size, shape, and coloring of Sara's rear end, white men exploited her for money. When she was 20 or 21 years old, a white doctor took her to London. In London, Sara was treated like a freak. She was put into circuses and paraded around nearly naked, publicly and in private homes. This was done so that Europeans could pay money to see and touch her body. 4 years later, Sara was taken to Paris, sold to another man, and placed in a cage with a baby rhinoceros. According to one article, her trainer would order her to sit or stand in a similar way that circus animals are ordered, and she was nearly naked at the time. Sara was nicknamed Hottentot Venus. Sara died at age 26, and the cause of her death is unknown. Pneumonia, smallpox, and alcoholism are three of the theories that have been given. After her death, the disrespect continued. Sara's body was dissected and put into jars. The jars were displayed in a museum so that people could continue to view her as a freak. In 1981, after Stephen Jay Gould wrote about her in his book, The Mismeasure of Man, Sara's story finally received the attention and public outrage that it deserved. The late South African President Nelson Mandela requested that the French government return Sara's remains to her homeland. thanks to President Mandela, nearly 200 years after her death, Sara's remains were given a proper burial. Sharing Sara's story with you and writing about it in Dear Beautiful was a very painful ordeal for me, and it always brings tears to my eyes. I'm sure you can hear the emotion in my voice right now. Her story is also a reminder that every day throughout the world, the bodies of children and women from all racial backgrounds are exploited. The sex trafficking industry is one example of this, and rape and child molestation are common problems throughout the world. I'm very thankful to God that my life and experiences haven't been like Sara Baartman's or like countless children and women whose bodies have been exploited for sexual purposes and money. Nevertheless, like many women, especially other Black women in the U.S., as a result of negative messages and a racially biased standard of beauty, for most of my life I've struggled to accept my body and features. For example, when I was in high school, I became self-conscious about the size of my nose after a friend of me told me that I had a big nose. As a college freshman, when I weighed 110 pounds, I believed that I was fat, and especially that my gut, butt, and hips were way too big. More recently, I worked for a company at which there was only one other Black female. I was also one of the oldest women in the company. This means that the majority of my female coworkers were much younger than I was, and some were also much thinner. Each time that I saw a younger, thinner coworker, I literally had to kill negative thoughts in my head such as, "You're fat, you're old, you have a huge stomach, your hips are too big, you have a big butt." In other words, I've spent most of my life. This means countless seconds, minutes, hours, days, and years worrying about foolishness as a result of other people's racially biased standard of beauty and my own self-sabotaging thoughts. By foolishness, I mean that I wasted time worrying about things that don't really matter in the long run. I wish that I had spent those seconds, minutes, hours, days, and years being kinder, gentler, and more loving and self-accepting of the person whom God created me to be. And I also wish that I could say that I have fully arrived at a place where I don't have to combat negative thoughts about my features and body shape and size. But I'd be lying if I did. The truth is, in a country in which people like me are often stereotyped and portrayed in negative ways, I have to work hard every single day to think and speak in positive ways to and about myself. One of the ways that I combat these negative thoughts and messages is to make an effort to focus on myself. And remember the following statement that I included in Dear Beautiful. I'm unique. I'm special. I'm God's child. Although I'm not perfect and never will be, I'm fine, just as I am at this moment and stage of my life. For I am one of God's beautiful creations, and He didn't make a mistake when He created me. Here's the main point that I hope you'll take away from today's podcast. No matter what you've been told or what you've been through, as a result of your features, body size, and body shape, you are enough. This means that you're not inferior to anyone else. You are good enough. You are smart enough, talented enough, and beautiful. Here's this week's Personal Empowerment Challenge. In your Personal Empowerment Journal, please complete the following exercises that are designed to do two things. First, help you create your own battle plan to combat foolishness. Those negative thoughts about your features and body size and shape that make you feel that you are ugly, defective, and inferior. Second, help you get into the habit of celebrating yourself. Earlier, I explained that one of the main ways that I combat negative thoughts about myself is to recite my personal mantra. I'm unique. I'm special. I'm God's child. Although I'm not perfect and never will be, I'm fine just as I am at this moment and stage of my life. For I am one of God's beautiful creations, and He didn't make a mistake when He created me. So 1, in your Personal Empowerment Journal, please write your own personal statement or mantra. 2, use this statement to replace negative thoughts about yourself by saying it out loud as often as possible. 3, another way that I combat negative thoughts about myself is by starting my day with 1 or more selfies. Then I take time to look at each selfie and find beauty in myself by admiring my facial features, my hips, my butt, my body, the body that God gave me. If you don't already do this by taking daily selfies and finding ways to admire yourself, especially parts of yourself that you struggle with, I recommend that you do this. 4, each time that you see yourself in a mirror, especially for the first time in the morning, greet yourself as beautiful. This is something that I started doing to replace negative thoughts. When I first started doing this, I didn't necessarily believe what I was saying. But soon I started to notice things that I hadn't seen, and I started to accept, like, and love the me that God created me to be. My full lips, my oval eyes, my adorable smile, my nose, which reminds me of my rich African heritage, my pear-shaped hips, and my ample butt. And whenever those negative messages, especially about my nose, hips, and butt, try to sneak in, I quickly kill those thoughts. I say, girl, you are beautiful. And good morning, beautiful. Then I gift myself with a smile and continue with my morning routine. 5, starting today, give yourself at least 1 compliment each day. If you have trouble doing this, just remember the story about the man on the pier who said he was good looking. If he could do it, you can do it. 6, last week I asked you to compliment at least 1 girl, 1 teen, and 1 woman about her hair. This week, I'm asking you to continue to compliment girls, teens, and women. As I stated, the world would be a much better place if more girls, teens, and women got into the habit of complimenting each other, and if we started being nicer to each other. 7, pay close attention to how you treat and view girls and women as a result of their body shapes and sizes and facial features, especially those who don't fit your standard of beauty. And I really would like for people who are in the customer service professions and people who are office staff to be especially vigilant about making sure that you treat all individuals fairly and respectfully, and that you don't engage in rudeness, disrespect, and microaggressions because of your unconscious biases regarding who is worthy of respect. Number 8, use your power as a mother, auntie, teacher, mentor, supervisor, or other leader to encourage girls, teens, and women to develop their own plan to combat foolishness and self-sabotaging thoughts. For these thoughts are not only linked to a poor self-image, but they're also linked to bullying and abuses of power by individuals who have low self-esteem, and that includes workplace bullying by highly educated women who bully to hide their self-esteem issues. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you'll join me next week to hear You Deserve That Gift. This is part 5 of You Are All That and More. For more information about Inspirations by Gail LLC, please visit my website, www.drgailthompson.com. If you're interested in the theme music for this podcast, please check out music by Aaron Nimbus on iTunes. In the meantime, please remember this. No matter what you've been told or what you've been through as a result of your features, body size, and body shape, you are enough. This means that you are not inferior to anyone else. You are good enough, smart enough, talented enough, and beautiful. Until next time, hugs and blessings. I'm Dr. Gail L. Thompson.